What happens if a client or customer doesn't pay you? Can you take a loss? The answer might surprise you. We'll go through that in detail in a moment. My name is Merrill Taylor. I'm a CPA. I've been working with clients for over 20 years, helping them save tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands to sometimes millions of dollars in taxes using advanced tax strategies. So let's talk about this issue. It comes up quite a bit where I'll have a client will reach out and say, hey, we billed someone, say $10,000, and they never paid us. We want to write that off. Can we do that? Well, it depends on their accounting method. There are two ways of accounting for things. There is what's called the accrual basis method, and then there is what's called the cash basis method. Under the accrual basis method, you recognize income when you send someone an invoice. So let's say you did some work, you're done, or maybe you weren't even done, maybe you sent an invoice during it. Just whenever you send somebody an invoice, it is recognized as income when that invoice is sent. So somebody that's on the accrual method, their income statement says, we sent an invoice for $10,000, $10,000 of income is recognized. Then let's say that $10,000 invoice is never paid. Well, it's not fair to recognize $10,000 of income when it was never actually received. So in that case, if you're never paid, it's considered a bad debt expense, and it shows up as an expense on the P&L to offset the income that was recognized, netting out to zero so that the bottom line on the income statement is now zero. It's down to nothing. Under the cash basis method of accounting, income is not recognized when an invoice is sent. Rather, income is recognized when the invoice is actually paid. So if you send an invoice to someone for $10,000, nothing shows up on the income statement. It shows zero income until that cash is received, and then it shows $10,000 of income as cash comes in. If the cash never comes in, there is nothing that can be written off because there was nothing that was ever recognized. You can only write off income that is never received that is showing up on your P&L. So again, if you don't have any income, if you're using the cash basis method, you bill somebody, you don't put the income on your income statement, you never get paid, there's no write-off because there was never any income recognized for it. So hopefully that makes sense. However, if there were any hard costs, like actual out-of-pocket expenses that you had associated with that, let's say that you had a contract with someone, they were supposed to pay you $10,000, you billed them $10,000, you did the work for it, and let's say that you paid an employee $5,000 to do the work, and you bought $2,000 worth of supplies to do that job. So you have $7,000 of actual hard costs, actual expenses that you paid for associated with that invoice, with that customer and that job. And then you billed them the $10,000 and you never received the $10,000. Well, you can still write off your hard costs, the $5,000 of wages, the $2,000 of supplies. Those are still an expense that show up on your books. But you can't write off the $10,000 invoice that you never received, unfortunately. Same thing applies to the accrual method. You can still write off your hard cost. The $5,000, the $7,000 gets written off. The $10,000 that you bill the customer that shows up as income then gets written off as a bad debt expense. So under both methods, both the accrual method and the cash method, the bottom line would be the same. You would each P&L would show a loss of $7,000, which represents the hard cost. If you didn't have any hard costs associated with it, let's say it's just you that's doing the work, and there was no cost, actual out-of-pocket expenses associated with it, well then both P&Ls would be the same. The accrual method would show $10,000 of expenses, $10,000 of income from the invoice being sent out, and then a $10,000 bad debt expense, and net to zero. The cash basis would just show nothing. There would be no income recognized, no loss. It would also show zero, so both would end up getting to zero the same way. So that's how it works if you don't get paid from a client, from both the accrual perspective as well as the cash perspective. For more updates, make sure to subscribe to the channel and go to taxtutor.com to subscribe to our weekly newsletter.